If folks in positions of power and influence abandon their responsibility to protect we the people, it makes them morons at best, feckless and irresponsible human beings at worst. Now, if they work diligently and intentionally to deny you the ability to protect yourself and your family from their vacuous policies, then there's something altogether different. They are pure evil. Those in power, if they won't do what's right, they should be removed. That's the common sense that isn't so common these days that we dispense in today's preamble. As I always do, I have various stories and facts to back up my informed opinion. First, let me focus on my home state of Texas. As you all know, critical race theory is a cultural Marxist construct that teaches black and brown kids to hate white people and teaches white kids to be ashamed of their heritage and skin color. In response to the racist hate whitey program being pushed by hate-filled left-wingers in GovEd, the Texas legislature passed a prohibition on the state-sponsored racism in GovEd schools. Now, many of you might be saying, great. Sadly, this law was meant to elicit such a response. Many were shocked to find out that the law provided no punishment for GovEd administrators who were caught teaching this racism. Further, the Texas legislature made sure no mechanisms were in place to enforce their toothless law. Fast forward 2 years, and Texas is witnessing gloating from lawless GovEd administrators who are boasting that they are breaking the law and teaching racism in GovEd anyway, knowing that the legislature's law by design wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. Parents are outraged in Texas and demanding the right to police these indoctrination centers if the Texas legislature, primarily the alleged GOP-led House, won't do any policing itself. In response to the overwhelming majority of Democrat, Republican, and independent Texas parents who were demanding parental school choice, 24 alleged Republicans, led by the deceitful Fort Worth Representative Charlie Guerin, and 3 other degenerates, well, they joined nearly every socialist Democrat to thwart GovEd accountability, to thwart parental school choice, and to thwart Texas joining the majority of civilized states that embrace parental authority over their children's education. So, not only did the Texas House abandon our children to hate, low-quality education, and lessons designed to teach them to despise the United States of America, they worked to prevent parents from trying to protect their children from GovEd's left-wing abuse. You know, it's sad when the GOP emulates leftists. Not only are the GOP voters waking up, but even Democrat voters are starting to recognize the empty promises and selfish motivations of the uniparty ruling class. Left-wing extremists who run the city of Chicago voted to give their voters money away toward the care and feeding of Joe Biden and the Democrats' illegal alien hordes. Without their voters' permission, the city of Chicago is appropriating $51 million more on top of millions already spent to deal with the influx of illegal aliens that Joe Biden's regime is bringing in from the southern border. Democrat voters are outraged by the Democrats' foreigners first priorities, black Chicago residents, with perhaps the first inkling of the stupidity of their votes, are ripping a proposed illegal alien center that their Democrat politicians have dedicated their tax money to building. The black community is citing a depletion of city resources for Americans to accommodate illegal aliens, as well as the potential of non-citizens voting in local elections for their righteous anger. Instead of reversing course and enforcing immigration law, Joe Biden is suing states like Texas for redistributing illegal aliens to these cities in the full light of day, a practice that Joe Biden and his regime is already doing under the cloak of darkness. Not only will Joe Biden and his Democrats not stop hurting black communities with massive illegal immigration, they'll sue to stop states from getting in their way as they fill America's communities with nationals from other countries. And to add insult to injury, Democrats who are loyal to Biden, not their voters, will give away resources that were supposed to be for American communities and families. It's all an effort to fulfill the Democrats' agenda of illegality. While we're at the border, I might as well tell you about the Democrats' latest achievement As you all know, Maryland, it isn't a border state, but MS-13 gang members killed a 15-year-old boy in Frederick, Maryland in February. I'll bet you Democrat voters in Maryland never thought the Democrats' illegal immigration push would hurt you, right? Law enforcement revealing that some of the killers were indeed part of that bloodthirsty gang, and that under Joe Biden and the Democrats' border policies, these killers were released intentionally into the United States by federal officials. Let me say that again. Joe Biden's Democrat policies released these MS-13 gang members into the United States, and those gang members in turn slaughtered a 15-year-old boy. The Democrats' pro-gang member border policies reflect their pro-crime policies in general. These policies have ruined and taken over our streets. Conservatives have been warning Americans to arm up to protect ourselves from this criminal Democrat constituency. Sadly, some folks don't think you should defend yourself, apparently thinking it's just your duty to die, like that 15-year-old boy did. One such man is the Catholic Cardinal of Newark, Cardinal Joseph Tobin, who has launched an appeal to Catholics to voluntarily forego their Second Amendment right of self-defense by refusing to bear arms. He writes in part, quote, "Let's voluntarily set aside our rights in order to witness the truth that only peace and never violence is the way to build a free society that is lived concretely in our homes, our neighborhoods, our communities, our nation, and our world. I honestly believe it is the best thing we can do to change the culture of violence that threatens us today," end quote. According to the good cardinal, it is Catholics' God-given right of self-defense that is causing all the violence. Let's see. It was a crazed trans shooter who gunned down 6 Christians, including 3 children in Nashville. It was a pronoun-obsessed left-winger who gunned down innocent people in a bank in Louisville. No, I don't think law-abiding Catholic gun ownership has anything to do with those or any of those other criminal mass shootings. Cardinal Tobin, who has a history of bashing Republicans, might be better served in calling for government to clamp down on criminals rather than calling on his flock to abandon their God-given right of self-defense. You know, one has to ask if it is in keeping with Christ's teachings for the faithful to abandon protecting themselves and their families against the ravages of Democrat pro-criminal policies. Anyone with a cursory knowledge of the Bible would answer with a resounding no. But as you'll see, folks, those with a cancerous left-wing mindset will abandon their professed values if it saves their own hides. Take Hunter Biden, for example. No, please, take him. Hunter Biden's attorneys are using a landmark legal case decided by the Supreme Court that declared New York's gun-grabbing laws to be unconstitutional to defend Joe Biden's cokehead son. Hunter's attorneys are saying that the Democrats' gun restrictions that entail asking those to be truthful on gun registration forms about their substance abuse, that those requirements are unconstitutional. Federal forms show that Hunter Biden lied in order to purchase a firearm. One teensy-weensy slight problem with that: Joe Biden called that common sense ruling by the Supreme Court a, quote, an affront to common sense and the Constitution, end quote. So in essence, Hunter Biden's legal team is saying that Democrat gun grabbers' rules are unconstitutional, all in an effort to keep Joe Biden's derelict son out of jail. Whether it be the left-wingers in the White House, the Catholic Church, or the GOP leadership in the Texas House, one overarching principle is the same for these folks: their desire to have power over you. Their desire isn't grounded in God, the law, or human decency. And all of the professed beliefs of the Democrats are subject to change as long as those changes lead to their unchallenged power and you losing your rights to tell them no. The only time I run into conflict with Democrats and leftists is when their desire for power interferes with my rights, which these days is all the time. As a people, we would all do well to remember this Salcedo Show axiom: it is best not to give government more power, lest it be abused. It's up to all real Americans to recognize the nature of those who do harm in government or in positions of influence. And it's best we do all we can to make sure they have little or no power over us. Caving in or turning a blind eye to evil never works out well, and we're living it. It's high time we stopped.